linked to the police radio and what have you, and there's a positive duty to do something about it. So let's say you're a judge and you're involved in a case, and you're sending a child into a hostel or a foster parent's home, and the child's complaining that I've been interfered with. You, the judge, have now got responsibility that you didn't have before, and that's what could well be happening in certain high-profile cases that I can't speak about.
It's the same principle.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's right. As far as the mothers of these children revealing things that are happening in these secret courts, duress applies, doesn't it? Save the life will live. Yeah. Court will be end of it. So really, those are the two insights that you mentioned three. I'm not sure what the third one is, but those are the two issues which are working in our favour.
Is it then the case that you can't be compelled to keep quiet if the court should have been in the open anyway? Is it as simple as that?
Well, it is, yes, that's right, yes, yeah, because it's not a lawful court, is it? For example, contempt of court is a common law offence, isn't it? So if the court is not a common law court, it's not a court.
Therefore you can't
it's a costume drama. Really, that is the bottom line. So it's not a court.
When they send us summonses to the magistrates' court and the district court, that's not lawful. They can't actually say magistrates' court. Because I've had evidence of fraud in the court.
I'm not quite sure what you're referring to, but
the name, the court, magistrates' court.
Magistrates' court is the traditional name. It used to be police court, in actual fact. The first court I went to, sort of 30 years ago, they had police court chiselled onto very big letters, and you take your prisoner in, you say, "Oh, look at that." A bit unfair, but that was my early phase.
What do you mean it's not a lawful court in that case?
If it doesn't follow the rules, it's not a court. And the prohibition on Star Chambers does that. What it says is there are certain rules. Public, only charged with known offence. Witness has got to be available for cross-examination, decision by a jury. Take any of those away, and it's not a court. It's just a costume drama.
Okay, the prohibition on Star Chamber, is that an actual?
Yeah, it goes back to 1641. It's a statute, and there's various cases decided as a result of it. They're known as state trials. In the 1600s, there were state trials. The most important one, in actual fact, is jury nullification. Who's familiar with jury nullification? Okay. If you've ever given evidence to the Old Bailey, the first time I went to the Old Bailey, it was run by policemen. There was old crusty policemen in the police office downstairs, and they taught the young people, younger policemen, what to do. And there were two of us from my division with a trial. At lunchtime, they made us stand in the dock in number 1 court of the Old Bailey, and we only had about a 3-month service. And it's like being in the bottom of a well, surrounded by wood, with all these people looking down. And a voice came from the back: "If you ever commit a crime, P.C. Hurst, this is where you'll be." And then maybe pay a fiver for a tie with the scale of justice on it, which was overpriced in 1978. To show me. But anyway, one of the stairwells at the Old Bailey, there's a commemorative plaque to Bushel's case. Now, history repeats itself because human nature doesn't change through time, is my proposition. So the Stuart Kings come to England in the early 1600s, and where they come from, in Scotland, it's not common law, it's divine right of kings, Roman civil law, and a bit of clan law and that sort of thing, and they're not big on democracy. And the Stuart Kings try and impose divine right of kings on us. Now, the first people to kick up were the Puritans. So William Penn is a Puritan, and he's got a meeting house in Gracechurch Street in the City of London. And he has regular dues on Sundays. I don't know whether they call them services or not. Anyone know? Is it a service for Puritans or is it a meeting? Anyway, regular events on a Sunday. And the king decides they're saying bad things about him, so he decides to suppress them, and he issues a proclamation to shut them down. And their door is nailed up because they didn't mess about in those days, and the king's proclamation is pinned to the door. So Penn and his followers arrive on a Sunday morning, and all right, we'll have it in the street then. So it's quite apparent that they breached the proclamation. So he's duly arrested. It's a show trial. The Lord Chief Justice is presiding, and it's a jury trial in the Old Bailey. And William Penn gets in the box, and he cannot tell a lie because, of course, yes, I did have a service, but what he gave was a form of duress was his defence. You know, it's against God's whatever to forbid us to have a service. The Lord Chief Justice says, "Fine, there's an admission." Sends the jury out, and they come back 20 minutes later, not guilty. Throws a wobbly. I think you better think about that again. Out they go. 2 hours later, 4 jurors refuse to convict because a jury trial should be unanimous. a jury's verdict should be unanimous. What they do is they're nullifying a statute, or an ordinance in that case. And they're locked up for 3 days without food, drink or tobacco, as described. There's a bit of a tumult in the streets outside because this is a high profile case. Eventually the powers that be have to respond to a summons for habeas corpus, and they're released. And the foreman of the jury was known as Bushell. So Bushell's trial confirms the jury's right to nullify bad statute. So a jury can decide 2 things. Did he do it, and would it be right to convict him?
Yes, but that's never brought up in present courts.
It's not, no, it's not. I've been Crown Court many times, and the judge will say, first I'll tell you the law, and then you decide guilt or innocence. And it's not brought up, you're quite right. Now, there's a thing called the Creco case, and this is within living memory, about 10 years ago. In America, they've got a 3 strikes and you're out for drugs. So Mrs. Creco's son had been convicted of the 3rd time possession of cannabis, and he was looking at 25 years in prison. So she thought this was a bit out of order. So she got some leaflets from the Fully Informed Jury Association. Fully Informed Jury Association, got a good website, and she wanted to get them to the jury. So what should I do? I know, I'll print 100 of them and put them on the windscreen wipers of the cars in the court car park. Now the FBI got wind of this, and they catch her at it, and they arrest her. Oh, I got you, interfering with the jury. So they charge her, and when they arrest her, and when she's being interviewed, she says, yeah, I'll have trial by jury, it's a serious offence, and I'll show them what's on my leaflet. And the prosecutor thinks, there, this is going nowhere. So it establishes that it applies generally. So that's jury nullification. And jury nullification goes straight back to Magna Carta, and the foremost author on the subject is a man called Lysander Spooner. That's right. Yeah, Lysander Spooner. He looks like Karl Marx, because that period there was a fashion for having a huge beard, wasn't there? You've never seen a picture of him, but he's nothing like Karl Marx. He's a good egg in favour of, in favour of the common law and subjects' rights. And one of the chapters in one of his works explains where jury nullification comes from. Gentleman here is obviously aware of it. So I've given you some ideas for some reading, and when you've read that, you will be a fully informed citizen. Okay? So you remember I said at the beginning of this lesson, sorry, I say lesson, I used to be a trainer. At the beginning of this session, I'll be asking you some questions. And the reason I do that is to reinforce the message that's gone over, so I'm not treating you like children. I came in the room and I introduced myself, okay, and what was I going to teach you about? Well, self-defence, yeah, self-defence. And self-defence in the physical sense, well, that's another lesson. Can be done, but we'll come back to that. Legal self-defence. So the first thing you know is what's a crime. A crime is a physical act and a mental intent, isn't it? So if one of them's missing, is it a crime?
Yeah, no.
No. So is that the reason why a policeman driving his car can go through a red traffic light in an emergency? Yes. Yeah. So that's the reason for it. If you hit somebody in self-defence, is that what would apply to you? Because you're all nice people, you wouldn't hit anybody that didn't deserve it, would you? Yeah, it really is the basis of self-defence. Okay. What was the next subject we talked about?
Adrenaline.
Sorry?
Adrenaline.
So we've had an adrenaline rush. Because knowing what you know now, I think you'll be more confident if you have a case to challenge the person in authority, won't you? It could be a policeman, it could be a traffic warden, it could be a judge. You will know that when you have the adrenaline rush, it's not because you're a coward, it's because you're descended from a long line of successful cavemen, yes. Which is nice to know, isn't it? Those are ex-services, it's part of military training, isn't it, to put people under pressure so that they understand it. But the present generation of youngsters don't know about it. Tina and I had occasion to teach some young men on physical activity at the weekend, didn't we? Yeah. And at one point, a lad was trembling so much he couldn't operate his fingers anymore until we explained it. Yes, I don't know what's the matter. That's right. What's wrong? Yeah. So it's an important part of every young man's rites of passage to do these sort of things, and that's the reason they took it away, I'm sure, isn't it? Because the last thing you want is a population that stands for his rights and is prepared to do something about it. So this will be a lesson you have to pass on to the next generation. Then we talked about duress of circumstances, the common law concept of you commit a minor crime to prevent the worst one, because you don't commit a crime because you haven't got the mental element. And that's exactly what I did when I didn't pay the refugee council tax, isn't it? A question was asked, well, a proportion of the tax I've established goes to the EU, but it's a general. The reason I went for council tax is my pension is taxed at source. I can't avoid paying VAT when I'm